electric cars. That's what we're mainly here talking about here today.
That is correct.
Is there a future for them?
Yes. And that's what we're here to talk about today.
Okay.
And today I'd like to introduce our guests from NIPSCO. We have Kevin Kirkham, and we also have Nick Meyer. So welcome to our show.
Morning. Yes.
So, just on this topic, we just wanted to talk about, some of the things that are going on with Clean Cities and our initiative really to get Northwest Indiana ready for electric vehicles. And part of that is, just to give you a little bit of an overview, is, we're talking about some of the things that are going on in Washington, but our current administration has an agenda, and the agenda is to bring over 1 million electric vehicles to fruition here by 2015. So to do that, we have to ready our electric charging stations, make our communities ready to investigate and teach these our electricians, teach our towns and communities, our first responders, how to be ready for these electric vehicles as they come to fruition.
A million by 2015.
2015.
I'm sure that most people that listen, even the news junkies, don't know that.
Yes, and that is one of the biggest initiatives that the president has. A lot of our Department of Energy money has being spent really to, again, ready throughout the nation our communities to be ready for these vehicles. And so currently in Indiana we have one electric vehicle manufacturer, and that is the Think electric vehicle. And so we're also going to be introducing the Chevrolet Volt. They're taking orders for Chevrolet Volt. The Ford Focus is also going to be coming to fruition. And so a lot of these vehicles will be coming into our area first quarter of 2012. And to do that, we wanted to ready our communities in our area for these electric vehicles. It's kind of like the chicken and the egg thing. It's how do we have the vehicles first, or do we have the charging stations? And really what I'd like to do is again introduce our speakers to kind of talk about some of the initiatives that we have going on here locally with NIPSCO. And so Kevin, maybe just give us a little background on Kevin Kirkham.
Sure. This is a great opportunity to be here today. I'm the director of our energy efficiency group. I run all of our energy efficiency programs, as well as our electric vehicle program that will be rolling out starting next year.
And where are you from, Kevin?
I'm from Chesterton, Indiana.
From Chesterton High School or Andrean?
No, actually, I'm from Chicago.
Okay.
I've been a local resident in Chesterton for the past 20 years.
Okay, cool. And if I just might ask about this. We're talking about NIPSCO's role here, and I guess before we go any further, you guys see like some big growth here and using electricity and using your grid and growing the grid. Is that kind of the role here? Why part of the reason why you guys are working with Clean Cities?
Yes, the consumption of an electric vehicle actually is it's a large amount of electricity that flows through an electric vehicle. If you consider a normal transformer in the residential area, it might have 4 or 6 homes that serve that transformer. And as electric vehicles come into the market, if there are several that are on that same transformer, it becomes a big issue for NIPSCO and all electric utilities across the country. We don't want to have to re-establish a new infrastructure and put all new types of larger transformers in place. So we see the rollout has to be controlled and in a way that is economical. Well, there's different types of charging stations. There's level 1, 2, and 3. Most of the homes will either have level 1 or 2. Level 1 is just that, a 110 outlet. And you could plug into any outlet, and that will work for any vehicle that's coming onto the market. What probably will happen more likely is that customers that want to purchase an electric vehicle will want to have a faster charge. And so they're going to have a level 2 charging station installed in their house. Excuse me. And that a level 2 charging station is not cheap. It's about $1,650 to have the electric upgrade and charging station installed. And so I'll get to a little later some of the programs that NIPSCO will help maintain or help those upfront costs come down. But that will be the majority of the charging will be level 2. So the charging will probably take, depends on the type of car, how big the battery is, but you can estimate anywhere between 4 and 6 hours of charging time. So if you can plug it in and have it set to charge at night, by the time you wake up, the car is fully charged and ready to go for the morning.
And again, Jim, what we've seen is historically throughout the United States, majority of people commute to work less than 40 miles a day. And so again, with northern Indiana, with a lot of our commuters going to and from Chicago, we are coordinating our plans not only with Northwest Indiana here. We're coordinating with Chicago, we're coordinating with Michigan, and we're also coordinating it with Indianapolis and working with our projects. So as we implement charging stations, we'll notify Department of Energy. These will go on to a specific website, and they will be web-based, where we'll know where all these charging stations are located. And so it's really a coordination, it's an education process. And again, we are just trying to ready Northwest Indiana for this endeavor.
He's Carl Lissick. He is with South Shore Clean Cities, along with Nick Meyer of NIPSCO and Kevin Kirkham of NIPSCO. And Carl, I know there's some other things that you wanted to cover. Why don't we go straight at it? There's so much. I have so many questions about this, but the main thing is we just talked to a guy that was out of work for 3.5 years that I've known for a lot of years, and he says he has no hope for finding a new job. And the Post-Tribune, again, Nick Meyer is like the most media savvy guy around. He read every word in here, and I didn't even have to ask. Several people in here told their live stories of, I can't find a job, and I went to college and I worked here and there. I mean, what kind of impact can perhaps making Northern Indiana a leader in, I guess, electric cars and the power that? What kind of impact on jobs could that have?
Well, first of all, Jim, again, this is an endeavor. This is a stakeholder. So I mean, it's not NIPSCO's program. It's not Clean Cities program. It's us working together. So we're reaching out right now to our communities, to our schools, to the unemployed, because we do feel this is going to make an impact on our unemployment. Again, it's going to take local people putting these charging stations in, so there's opportunities for electricians to get trained or retrained. We're looking at, as these electric vehicles become more prevalent in the United States, we want them produced with United States steel here, produced here in Northwest Indiana. And then also, we see our first responders. We see that's a huge undertaking, is how do we educate our first responders on training them properly. And so there's a whole endeavor that we see coming up with job creation here in Northwest Indiana. And so, entrepreneurship leads to other opportunities. And so we do want Northwest Indiana, we always talk about the drain brain here that we have, and we do feel that this is an opportunity. So we are working with the schools, and we are planning a stakeholder summit actually in October with Ivy Tech and NIPSCO and various other partners here in Northern Indiana to introduce them to all these different endeavors that we have to do throughout Northern Indiana to coordinate these efforts.
Nick Myers is in the communications ends with NIPSCO. Nick, literally, this is the first time that I've done a show on electric vehicles. Mm-hmm. I think we may have touched on it last time you were here, yes. Carl. Mm-hmm. But, how would you even remotely impress upon people to consider that?
Well, I think that's when you look at the design of the program itself. You talked about making sure that the infrastructure is there, but in addition to that, we need to make sure that, can we offer incentives or discounts on rates for charging your vehicles at night. So making it attractive for consumers who are buying these vehicles, the early adopters, to help get this market started. So not only do you have to have preparation from the utility, but then you have to have programs and incentives in place to make sure that continues to grow.
You mean you give people, incentives to drive an electric vehicle?
Well, do you want to talk about?
Is that something you guys have already developed?
Well, just to kind of throw in a little thing. There are some tax incentives right now for consumers. So right now you can get a tax incentive anywhere from $2,500 to $7,500 for an electric vehicle. And so all this information, Jim, is actually on our website. It's www.southshorecleancities.org, and so it talks about all the various incentives that are available, not only for electric vehicles, but also for other alternative fuels opportunities. So again, when we have this public meeting, we would invite everybody from the region, from the area, to come to learn about this endeavor, to look at what this means to Northern Indiana and to the future of Northern Indiana.
Kevin, you're going to have an incentive program?
Yes, we are. We actually have filed with the Regulatory Commission for a program to begin hopefully at the beginning of 2012, right when the cars are starting to come out. And it's really, the first phase is based in two parts. The first part is to provide an incentive of $1,650, up to $1,650 for the electric upgrades of the residential home, as well as for the charger to be installed. And so that cost should cover the vast majority of the installations going in for residential customers. If it happens to cost more than that, then the customer will have to pick up the difference. But it's a pretty good incentive that should allow for the charging station to be installed in the house. That's a level 2 charging station free of charge.
Egg, chicken or the egg here? What needs to come first? The charging stations or the cars? And the reason I ask that is I've been driving up to Rochester, Minnesota every 3 months, and they already have a number of charging stations right on the express off the interstate, and nosy guy asking people, hey, does anybody use that? And I go in there and I talk to the guys, and they're like, dude, we haven't had anybody use that in like 9 days, that kind of thing. So they have the charging station, but not a lot of people. I mean, what comes first?
It is the chicken or the egg, but it really has to come together. Excuse me, together, because the actual vehicle manufacturers are going to the communities that actually have charging stations ready first. So that's where they're going to be starting to sell the cars. The city of Chicago, they're going to have over 600 charging stations the first quarter of 2012. The vehicle manufacturers are going to the city of Chicago. We'd love to have the vehicle manufacturers come to northern Indiana because we have the charging stations installed and ready to be used, and therefore have the customers be able to purchase the cars here in northern Indiana.
And that's why it's a pilot program. I mean, essentially, we want to make sure that we're not rolling out something that is going to overcome the market, and want to make sure that we have the ability to adjust the programs as either the adoption continues to ramp up or levels off. But we do see a future with this market.
Well, and again, I think with the newness of any program, what we see is we want to see these electric vehicle manufacturers come here to northern Indiana to create jobs. So if there's a demand for us building cars here in northern Indiana, I mean, we've got great logistics here with our transportation systems. We would love to see other manufacturing facilities come to northwest Indiana to develop these and implement this technology.
That's Carl Lissick speaking. He's with South Shore Clean Cities, along with Nick Meyer of NIPSCO and Kevin Kirkham of NIPSCO. In the tradition of WJOB, let's go to the phone calls. 219-845-1100. Hi, George.
How you doing?
What up, man?
Well, I'm curious about some perspective here. We got a car that has to sit for 6 hours a night. How far can we go once it's charged up? And I don't see the incentive here for an electric car. I mean, it just sounds like I'm making NIPSCO richer. Can you elaborate on that?
All right, hang on the line.
Hey, George, good morning. It's Carl from the Department of Energy. Currently, the vehicle that we have is a Think electric vehicle, which is manufactured here in Elkhart, Indiana. That car will go 100 miles on a charge. So meaning I've been driving that vehicle for about 2 months now, and I've been tooling around anywhere from 50 to 75 miles. And so when I bring the car home at night, it's charged on regular 110 outlet. So our cost for electricity for majority of our listening area, non-business would probably be between 9 to 11 cents a kilowatt hour. So that equates to probably less than $1 an hour for me to charge my vehicle. So this is important for reducing America's dependence on foreign oil, and helping with air pollution. Again, with an electric vehicle, there are 0 emissions related to that vehicle being operated on the street.
George?
Yeah, but I couldn't even go from here to Indianapolis if I had to.
That's correct. That's correct, George. I mean, what we're planning, though, is we are planning on having various charging stations along I-65.